TIL fish eggs can survive and hatch after passing through a duct, providing one explanation of how seemingly pristine, isolated bodies of water can become stocked with fish. That's the most interesting thing I've read in months. We actually ran into this. We were reclaiming an old well pad and the ponds on the pad had stickleback fish inside of them. We had to move them to the lake nearby, but this answers our question on how the hell they got there, lol. Not disagreeing with this, but flooding can also migrate fish around. Grown fish can also be dropped by birds. Grown fish can also be dropped by grown men. Spirit Lake right by Mount Street. Helens was completely devastated and all life in the lake was obliterated with the 1980 eruption. As early as 1993 they have been finding trout back in Spirit Lake. US Forestry Service was convinced that anglers were illegally stocking the lake. They DNA typed the fish to find out what hatchery they came from and staked out the lake trying to catch them. No luck so far. No luck so far. Someone please go tell them. I feel bad for them now. I dunno. The folks doing the stakeout probably love their job. They're spending their days just hanging out at the lake. Fish seeds. Does a duck fart fish eggs in shallow water? Watch out, does a bear shit in the woods? Your days are numbered. I mix it up between does the Pope shit in the woods and does a bear wear a funny hat myself. Ironically though, the bear Pope neither shits in the woods or wears a funny hat. I was at a friend's house whose pool sat unmaintained for years and fish showed up. Someone said they wondered how fish eggs got there, and I explained that birds don't fully digest their food and bird poop can cause fish to show up in the pool. His response was, you know, a bunch of useless information, man. After we just use the information. Look at this guy taking all the magic and replacing it with pretty amazing science. Ducking loser. Fucking magnets. How do they work though? Magnets. This has bugged me for so long. People say mad shit like storms carry fish over kilometers of land and then drop them in this tiny ass lake with a straight face. I was told as a kid that some fish eggs are actually small enough to evaporate with water during dry seasons and can then be rained down into other bodies of water. I always believed that, but as a critically thinking adult it kind of sounds like bullshit. Probably more likely the eggs just get stuck to duck/goose/crane/heron feet and get knocked off when they land in the next pond or something. I mean, a water spout could suck up some eggs and toss them somewhere. It's happened with small frogs. Definitely not the correct way to go about spreading fish though. Me slowly puts away water spout. Itsy bitsy spider. Hey, man. What the fuck? The parents shipped them off to a private school. Sounds more like a privy school. I live near a nature reserve that has vernal pools. These ponds only have water after the rainy season and are dry most of the year. However, when they do fill up, they become teeming with life. Fairy brine shrimp, tadpoles, and small fish, though the life there has adapted to the cycles of wet/dry seasons. It's always been a mystery to me how brine shrimp and fish got into the vernal pools in the first place. The pools are located on top of a plateau made out of old volcanic rock and are at too high an elevation for water to flow into them from a stream. However, ducks and other waterfowl frequent the pools when they are full. So this solves that mystery. Brine fairy shrimp eggs survive in dry ground and frogs can dig and hibernate or travel over land. Also fish can sometimes get between pools during flooding and then get trapped. You are correct. And that is what the various organisms do during the dry season. But the mystery for me was how did the shrimp and fish get on top of the plateau in the first place? The plateau where the vernal pools are located is situated in such a way that flooding from other water sources would not reach the vernal pools. It's more of a mesa atop a larger plateau. The plateau itself spans the whole ecological reserve and does have streams, springs, and riparian ecosystems. But flooding would flow down the nearby hillsides away from the vernal pool area. It's not impossible, but with the terrain it seems highly unlikely. So I feel that the waterfowl delivery system ultimately solves mystery. Could eggs get stuck on birds' feet and be transported to another body of water? Yes. Apparently base eggs are quite sticky and they get transported that way quite frequently. The link says such hypotheses are still unproven. but the pooping theory was confirmed in a 2019 study. Sounds like a shitty study. Goddamn it. Take my upvote and get out. I always wondered about this. I knew a guy who filled a pond every summer, but it was dry the rest of the year. By the end of summer there would be quite a few fish and it always confused me. A lot of people will stock their own ponds. Buying a truckload of live fish is surprisingly affordable. My dad used to stock one of the ponds on our property with rainbow trout. That was until one year a pair of osprey moved in and cleared the pond out. Dad decided that was a bit of a pricey way to feed birds. That's actually what this pond was for. It was really big and he planned to stock it with some good fish. But carp absolutely took it over, so it was really just good for swimming. Haha. That's what we do where I come from. Carp ponds. They get stocked early spring. We eat carp in autumn, and then it gets drained for the winter. Carp is a speciality round there. Gotta admit. Deep fried carp ribs is some good shit. I'm not calling it pristine if ducks are shitting in it. If this is true, you just explained a lifelong question of mine. Was the question, can fish eggs survive and hatch after passing through a duck? Providing one explanation of how seemingly pristine, isolated bodies of water can become stocked with fish? Yay man, rock on. This explains that time I ate caviar and left an upper decker in the host's guest bathroom. A few weeks later they found guppies in the toilet tank. Those are your children now. Thank you so much for this. It finally explains a great deal. I don't know if it was mentioned, but seeds also survive birds eating them. Then the birds poop them, and the seeds get planted from the speed they fall down. They get an additional bonus of fertilizer and humidity for them to grow. And every once in a while some enterprising fellow happens upon some intact coffee beans in a pile of cat turds and thinks, apostrophe. It's been a while since I heard of cat turd coffee. I mean technically civets, but you know. Potato potato. Life up finds a way. Quack. It makes me wonder what kind of effects inbreeding would have over a set period of time. Say only one duck passed a few eggs in a secluded pond. If they managed to survive a few generations and reproduce, would there be significant deformities or anything of that nature? Inbreeding isn't as bad as one would expect. For mammals, you need around 5 to 6 generations of no relation to be considered outbred. 64 fish could technically create a fish with no inbreeding. Some fish also have evolutionary adaptations that make them less likely to inbreed. Furthermore, fish can replicate like few other animals. Given the right environment, you could have inbreeding issues after 5 to 6 generations, and would only have siblings breed for 1 to 2 generations, which is rarely enough to cause genetic issues. I wonder if this isn't also an evolutionary advantage for the duck. This way they are producing a new source of eggs for them to eat. Yeah, it does seem rather coincidental, doesn't it? Passes through the stomach acids and intestines and everything just fine. But maybe it is less a duck thing and more of a fish egg evolutionary advantage that gave it a thicker skin. I don't know much about ducks other than their vaginas, but I'm surprised it doesn't digest them. Please tell me more about your knowledge of duck vaginas. Have you ever seen a corkscrew before? I feel vindicated. Some arsehole redditor went through my post history and called me stupid for asking this exact same question months ago. Why can't I find the comment of anybody calling you stupid? I wanted to see you roast them, LMAO. I was involved in a dig for a new stormwater pond at my last job. When it was done, we discussed how often we would need to fish, because although it is connected to no bodies of water, it will get fish. And then if the government finds out there are fish, they will want to protect the fish, and it can spiral out of control. And it sucks when new species get introduced. My family has been caring for a pond for 40 years, and somehow warmoths got introduced, and they outcompete the bluegill we want in there. They overbreed like crazy, completely fucking up the ecosystem. We aren't going to kill out the pond, but adding more base hasn't got their number in check, and it is really getting annoying. Easy fix. Just add a dump truck of water moccasins. They will clear up your problem as soon as possible. Some eggs attached to the legs and feet of waterfowl. I've seen things you fish wouldn't believe. Duck intestines on fire after it ate discarded Cheetos. I watched eggs form in the dark near the cloaca gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Born again fishes. Fissions. That's interesting af. Now that is interesting. I was always told as a child that fish eggs would stick to the feet of waterfowl and be transported to new bodies of water. So ducks are like the bees of pollination, with one exception. Also provides an explanation for how the platypus was created. A feature, not a bug. I fart in your general pristine, isolated bodies of water direction. I uncontrollably yelled out no when I saw this. Guess I don't like I know this.